But like on the first tee, most every day from the first time I've caddied, whether it be, you know, at a Solheim Cup or just a regular event, I crap in my pants on the first tee. You would never be able to tell, but it's almost like I get this like imposter syndrome. I'm like, I don't know if I should be doing this. I actually don't really know what I'm doing. You've got somebody that is very, say, highly strung or very involved in the round. It's like, I'm just trying to take their mind off what they're trying to do. You know what I mean? So if they're getting upset with somebody that's in the group that's slow, or the groups that are in front of us that are really slow, it's like, that's where I can kind of step in and be like, all right, so where are you going to go for dinner tonight? Or what's your husband doing, you know, this week? You know what I mean? How's your dog doing? How's your family doing? It's things like that. Just trying to get your mind and take a little bit of a break from the actual job at hand.
Welcome back to Fairways and Feelings, the podcast presented to you by Florio Golf. And today I'm having a chat with Paul Cormack. Paul is a caddy on the LPGA Tour. He's currently carrying the bag for none other than Dame Lydia Ko, who he recently helped win the British Open and also snatch up a gold medal at the Olympics. He's also worked with major champions like Anna Nordqvist, and last year he also just casually scooped up the LPGA Tour's Caddy of the Year award. Now, if you think life alongside the absolute greatest golfers on the planet is all, you know, glitz, glamour, and cyborg level mental optimization, then you're absolutely wrong. Paul is aggressively, refreshingly normal. He's a bloke from Aberdeen in Scotland who willingly eats the exact same plain ham and cheese sandwich every single day, obsessively follows Newcastle United, and freely admits that despite operating at the very pinnacle of his sport, he still basically craps his pants with imposter syndrome on the first tee of almost every tournament. Before becoming what his ex-wife affectionately called an outdoor butler, Paul spent a decade grinding out as a pro himself on the mini tours. We get into the exact soul-crushing realization that made him finally hang up the clubs, and how he sort of accidentally stumbled into caddying for the best players in the world. It was a massively eye-opening chat for me because it completely shattered my romanticized view of player-caddy relationships and what pressure actually looks like out there. It's a brilliantly honest conversation, so grab yourself a ham and cheese sandwich, get comfortable, and enjoy my chat with Paul Cormack. How are you feeling today on a scale of 1 to 10?
I'm probably about 7. I mean, okay. I could be a little bit better, but in terms of getting ready for leaving, I'm probably a little higher than that. I managed to get a lot of my packing done yesterday, but yeah, no, I'm probably about 7.
Okay, that's good. And you said you're leaving. You're flying off to a tournament tomorrow. Is that right?
Yeah, I go to Thailand. I'm going to Thailand for a week for a tournament. Then we go to Singapore for a tournament. Then my parents actually had a trip that was planned during COVID in Vietnam. So they're going to be there the week after Singapore. So I'm going to go spend a few days with them before coming back to the US.
That'll be nice, being able to tie that in with the long flight. How long is the flight? Sounds like a nightmare.
I leave here at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning and I get to Thailand 12:50 Sunday morning. So I don't know what it is. It's probably like 19 or 20 hours travel. Maybe in fact, no, it's probably a little bit less than that. I actually don't know, but it's a long time. It's a long time. The flight from Seattle to Incheon is probably about 10, I think.
Okay. That's the longest stretch.
That's the longest one.
How are you with flying? Obviously, it's a big part of your life, I guess. Yeah. I'm not a massive fan of flying, so I would not be made for that.
Yeah, no, I don't mind it, but the older I get, going east is what I don't like. Like going back to the UK now when I go and visit my parents, or if we go back in the summer for tournaments, I find that a big change, even though it's probably the shortest of the trips that we do in terms of international. But like going to Asia, I don't really mind. It doesn't really take that long to kind of get onto their thing. I think because obviously you also have a schedule, so it's like you're getting up in the morning, you have to go to work, so you just kind of accept it. Like when I go back to the UK to visit my parents, it's like I'll be up at midnight, and I'm like, I don't have to get up until 8 o'clock in the morning, so it's all right. But like that, going east, I think, is definitely the worst. Like there's times when I go home for Christmas and I don't really get a decent night's sleep, and I could be there for 10 days.
I feel you on that. I just, as you know, I just got back from Texas, and is the same thing. I'm fine going that way to the US.
Yeah,
absolutely fine. But it's coming back. I'm just laying there at about 2 a.m. just wide-eyed.
It's a lot. I feel it's a lot harder to get back on. Like when you go east, it's harder to get back onto that time zone. I don't know why, but that's what everybody says. But I haven't found a proper cure for it yet.
I don't think there is one, to be honest. I think they'd be very rich if they had if someone created a cure for that.
Absolutely.
You've mentioned your parents a couple of times already. Can I take from that you're close with them? I'm guessing.
Yeah. No, I speak to them, if not every day, every other day. Yeah, I'm very close to my parents.
They're still based. So you're originally from Aberdeen, you mentioned. Are they still in that area?
Yeah, just outside Aberdeen, a little town called Bankery. Actually, where Paul Lawrie, who obviously won the Open at Carnoustie, he's originally from there. So yeah, moved there when I started secondary school, and they've been there since. So yeah, but no, I'm close with them. I speak to them, as I said, every other day, if not every day. My sister lives close by as well. She has 2 kids, so I speak to them a good amount as well. I mean, that's one thing that sucks, obviously, being away, living over here. It was my choice to come over and live over here, but obviously I don't get to see them or see my niece and nephew grow up. But I mean, I feel like the world today is so much smaller with FaceTime. And, when I left in 2002 to go to college in Texas, I mean, I had to call my mother every day when I would go to school. So it's like she would get almost like a phone call from the jail cell. Will you accept his call? It's like, yeah, sure, it's Paul. But yeah, no, I feel like the world is a lot smaller today than it was, 24 years ago.
It's changed massively, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You sound like old people talking about this now, but it's so true. It's now, like you said, with FaceTime and WhatsApp and all sorts of stuff going on now, it's like you just feel a lot closer to them. I feel like,
exactly.
Even though you are far away, like the ease of just being able to, send a quick picture or, like you said, jump on a quick video call it changes a lot of things. It makes things a lot easier when you are that far away as you are.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that was the thing. I think the first year when I was in college, I played junior college in Waco, Texas. And I think the first full year I was there, I never even had a mobile phone because there wasn't a carrier that would allow me to either text or call back to the UK.
Yeah. Yeah. It's what years were you in college?
2002 to 2004.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because I went to the US for college 2010, I believe. And it was just the beginning of not FaceTime wasn't a thing yet, but I still had to kind of find a carrier that could do international calls, but it was very, very rare.
Yeah,
I think expensive as well.
T-Mobile. I think the one I ended up getting the second year I was in school was like T-Mobile pay-as-you-go phone, and I think phone calls were super expensive, but like text messages were like, I don't know, like 5p or something like that to send back and forth.
Yeah.
But then you were getting charged when you'd receive one as well.
Yeah, absolutely mad. I had the same plan, the T-Mobile one. Weird that I still remember that. But so you mentioned Aberdeen. You moved there when you said about in middle school. I think you said.
Yeah.
What were you like as a kid then? Like if we went back to you as a, let's say, 12-year-old, 13-year-old.
12, 13.
What were you like?
I was probably a little bit better than I was when I was probably about 9 or 10, and not in a good or a bad way, but like I was pretty shy when I was a lot younger. Obviously being from the UK, I mean, I think we all kind of grow up with either some kind of ball, whether it be rugby, football or whatever. I mean, football was my first love and will always be my first love in sports. And it wasn't until I was probably 11, 12 that I got into golf, and that was kind of when my life changed. Like I got a bit of confidence. I was a decent football player. But golf, I think because it was me only doing it and I was the one that was improving, that kind of gave me, I don't know, the confidence as a kid, if you know what I mean. It's like, okay, well, I'm good at something. It's not just like I'm part of a team that's good at something, if you know what I mean. So no, I was out at 12 or 13. I was fairly content, but I was on the golf course all the time.
When did you start golf? When did you first pick up?
So probably 11, maybe 12. Like I was late. Like I remember the town that we lived in before, which was just north of Aberdeen before we moved to Bankery. I think my dad took me to play golf when I was maybe 8 or 9, and we went and played the local golf course. And I remember coming off, and I said to my dad, I was like, never ever take me back to the golf course. I just found it so boring. Yeah, I hated it. Couldn't stand it. Like I probably didn't have the attention span. I didn't have the, I think we played with, it was me, my dad, and one of our neighbors he would have been maybe 7, 8, 9 years older than me. So I didn't really have anything in common with anybody other than the fact that it was my dad that I was playing with and somebody that I knew. But like I didn't understand the game. I didn't understand anything about it. So like I just found it really boring. I didn't think that it was very enjoyable. And then it wasn't until we moved and there was a driving range that was open and they were going to build a 9-hole golf course, and my dad was like, do you want to go and hit golf balls? And I was like, sure. I was like, let's go hit golf balls. And just from going and hitting golf balls, that was when I got hooked. And I was like, okay, I was like, this is a little bit different. And then I joined the golf course when it opened as a 9-hole golf course, and I've like up until probably 2015, I think I broke my foot. I probably hit golf balls, if not every day. Like,
wow.
Like maybe not Christmas Day, you know what I mean? Maybe not like days that there was snow on the ground, but like every other day, I would probably have either hit golf balls or I would have had a putter inside, or I would have been doing something. So a long time.
You truly got addicted.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah, it was like my drug.
Yeah. Not a bad drug to have, I'd say.
No, for sure.
Yeah. And when did you first start thinking, hang on, I might actually be quite good at this?
I would say probably pretty early on. I think the first handicap I ever got was probably 28. Then I think within 2 seasons, and obviously, the seasons in the UK are pretty short. And like, it's not like you can play year round or put cards in year round for your handicap. But I think within 2 seasons, I was down to 4 or 5.
Oh, great.
But that was, again, constantly. I was constantly at the golf course, whether it was during the winter, because obviously we had a covered driving range. I could hit golf balls pretty much all winter. So I would say if I started at 12, by the time I was 15, I was pretty handy. I'd already shot under par. A 9-hole golf course, and I'd shot under par for 18, obviously 2 rounds round it or whatever. So I'd say pretty early on, I figured that I was like, golf was kind of going to be my path of what I was going to do later in life. I didn't understand that I was going to turn pro and be a mini tour golfer, although not at a very good standard, but then get into caddy. And I just thought that I was going to end up being a club pro. Like I remember my parents went up to parents' evening one year, and they'd found out just before they'd went to parents' evening that to be a PGA pro you needed, I think it was like 4 standard grades, which we would call in Scotland. I don't know what you call them in England. And I needed English,
not sure actually.
English, math, and 2 others. And I wasn't very good at maths. I was all right at English. I say I wasn't very good at maths. I was all right at maths. I just didn't apply myself. English, I was all right because it's just writing and you can use your imagination, and 2 others. So then as soon as I found out that, I became very good at everything that I needed to become very good at.
Oh, okay. All of a sudden.
Yeah, all of a sudden. And the teachers, remember the next year, they went back, they're like, oh yeah, Paul's improved a lot. And my mom's like, you know why, right? And they're like, no. She explained to them and they were like, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
It's weird that, isn't it? It's I mean, we could go into some long, deep talk about how motivations can help change your drive and everything like that. But that's so you so you essentially knew from fairly early on that you wanted to get into golf in terms of that's what you wanted your life to be about.
Yeah, yeah. I just enjoyed everything. I mean, and obviously being a kid at a driving range that was obviously busy, a 9-hole golf course, which at the time in Scotland, and I'm sure it was probably throughout the UK, like most golf courses, I'm guessing when I was 12, 13, 14 years old, the junior section would only get maybe an hour of tee times every day. Whereas the golf course, the 9-hole golf course that opened up when I was a kid, they had a lot of junior members and we were allowed to play all day, every day. So I like from probably 12 until probably when I left to come over here. I mean, I was at the golf course every day. I was speaking to the guys in the pro shop. You know what I mean? You would play with some of the other members, like, and that was the other thing. Like when I was 14, like I was playing with guys that were 40. Like they would be like, "Do you want to play golf tomorrow?" So it was like, "Okay, yeah, I'll go play golf." So like, I think internally I've always been an old soul, but like I've always spent time with people that are older than me. So it was like, all right. I was like I found that kind of more natural. But it's funny that obviously going back to when I was a kid and I was playing with my dad and a guy that was maybe 8, 9, 10 years older than me, I didn't enjoy it. But then the older I got, I was like, all right, it's like I like this. This is fun.
Yeah, I'm sure also you being quite decent at it as well obviously helped, didn't it? I think, and it keeps the enjoyment up. Obviously, there's always shitty periods, but yeah, if you're seeing steady progress along the way, it helps with the motivation side of things, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I mean, and that's it's the same with anything in life. If you're good at it, I feel
That's
like
true.
the motivation is always there. But as soon as you kind of hit that first roadblock, that's like when you find out what you're really about, I think.
It's true. Yeah, exactly. And you then moved to the US. So you went to college in the US.
Yeah.
You mentioned Texas, McLennan Community College. Is that right?
Yeah, in Waco. Yeah, I went there from 2002 to 2004. Then I ended up coming back to the UK in 04. I actually could have went elsewhere, but I got sick in my. It was actually probably around about this time. Actually, you were just in Austin and it was freezing. So Waco had snow in February, and I decided on one Saturday night, and we might have had a couple of beers, that I was going to go and run around outside with no shoes on. So I ended up getting exactly, you know what I mean? You're 19 or whatever, you're doing something stupid. And I ended up getting bronchitis and acute pneumonia.
Ugh.
And so I was in bed for days on end, and my assistant coach was like, "You need to go to the doctor." So I ended up going to the doctor, and he was like, "Right," he's like, "If your chest doesn't improve by the end of the week, he's like, we're gonna have to, admit you to hospital because your lungs are filling up with fluid." So he was like, "You basically just need to rest." So I took my note to my coach, and he was like, "Well," he's like, "to be a part of this golf team, he's like, you need to practice, you need to go to class." He's like, "and you need to try and qualify." So I was like, all right. So me being the smart kid that I think I am at the time, I'm like, all right, I'll just sleep during class, I'll go to practice, I'll qualify, and I'll just sleep the rest of the day. So that's basically what I did for my last semester in college. So I ended up finishing 4th at nationals that year, and I had 2 or 3 schools that wanted me to go there, to their college, and I was like, I can't go. And they're like, why not? And I was like, I basically haven't been to class for a semester. So they're like, well, can you not do summer school and then come back at the end of it? And I was like, no, because that wasn't my intention. My intention was obviously to do something in golf. It wasn't really the school part of it. If I needed to do the school part of it to be a PGA pro, I was quite happy to do that, but I wasn't interested in actually going to school just to play golf. Plus, some of them were in the northern part of the States. It's like I could stand and hit golf balls in the cold in the UK if I want to.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? College golf. It's something I want to talk to you about because, as I said, I went and played college golf for a few years as well over there. And one thing that I found was really interesting and challenging from my end was the balancing act of everything. You know, I think on paper it sounds dreamy, right? Like you're going out there, you're playing golf all day and stuff like that, all cushy. But I found that, balancing the golf, the education, having to get a GPA and then also, having fun, just living your life as a 19-year-old, it can be challenging.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Did you find that as well from your end? Obviously, you mentioned that one example of when you got sick.
Yeah, no, I did. I think it all really depends as well what the other guys on your team, because obviously us coming from the UK, like I'm sure you didn't have a car.
Nope.
I
For
didn't
part of
have.
it, I did. But
Yeah,
mostly I didn't. Yeah.
I see. I never had a car, so like I was dependent on the guys on my team to get to practice.
Mm.
The guys on my team, if I needed to go and pick something up from the store. So from that, I got very, very lucky. I think I had a very good experience. Everybody on the team was very helpful. I mean, my assistant coach, who's now the head coach at McLennan Community College, he was brilliant as well. Like he said, he was like, if you ever need anything and nobody can help you, he's like, I'll help you. So I never really wanted for anything. I didn't ever want to go to practice, and nobody was going. Everybody was fairly committed. But it is hard. Like the school part was hard because I'd actually left school at 16 in the UK. So I was basically without education for 2 years before I had to then go back into it. So that for me was tough. It was kind of like I'd basically been a full-time golfer for 2 years as a junior, obviously, but then I'm now expected to golf and do the schoolwork, which, as I said earlier, is not really a massive motivation for me because I'd already got what I needed qualification-wise. And then my birthday lands in January, so when I left at 16, I technically left school at 15. So I had to stay in higher education for the remainder of that year. So I ended up going to college for a year. So I ended up getting decent qualifications anyway through the college year. But yeah, the school part of it really didn't hold. It wasn't high on the list of things that I wanted to do. It was kind of like, can I just go to the golf course?
And that's the thing, though, isn't it? It's just a difficult thing to balance and to juggle, I feel like, those two things. Because, you're expected from a golf perspective to, like you said earlier from your coach, you're expected to go out, practice till the sun goes down, basically, qualify for tournaments and then travel to tournaments, miss class and everything. It's difficult. It's tough to, and then trying to keep up and maintain a GPA as well at the same time and get a degree.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's definitely challenging, I think.
It depends on your teachers or your lecturers as well, because some of them are very kind of like, all right, that's fine. You know what I mean? You play on the golf team, like I can help you. Like I remember my speech class I had to take. I can't remember if it was my first or second year. And I walked in, and the first day, everybody has to stand up and speak. And public speaking is not my favorite thing in the world to do. But I was like, this is actually going to be really easy because I sound so different to everybody else. So I could just go up there and waffle for 5 minutes, and everybody's going to be like, oh, that was amazing. Yeah. But then I don't think I then had to give another speech in class. So my teacher was like, basically, every time that you're going to have to speak in class is when you're away for a golf tournament. So I'm just going to give you a recorder. Don't read your speech, but just speak it into the thing and I'll play it in class. But I would just sit there and read it into this thing, and she'd be like, you're amazing.
That's hilarious.
Cheating the system.
What on earth? I can just picture so she just had this tape recorder in class and just played it for everyone.
Yeah,
just
that's what she said she did. She
on.
probably just listened to it, but yeah. But like I would just sit there in my room and I would like hold it up to my mouth and I would just read, and she was like, just don't read it. But I'd always be just reading it off the paper or whatever. And she was like, I remember her saying to me towards the end of the semester, she was like, can you sing? And I was like, no, I'm not a very good singer. She's like, you've got a very good voice. She's like, you project well. She's like, if you could learn to sing, she's like, you'd be a very good singer. And I was like, I've got no intention of learning how to sing.
I'd absolutely love to hear you sing now. Now you've put that out there. I think no.
It's not very good. It'd be Frank Sinatra. It'd be something deep, or Elvis or something like that.
Oh, I love that though. That's great.
Yeah. Maybe I need to go take lessons.
Yeah. What did you do after college then, except sing?
Except sing. So I was back in Scotland, and then so what was that? 04. So it would have been in 04, 20. So I ended up basically just playing full-time amateur golf until 2007, I think it was. Then I kind of worked in the local bar during the winter, they were pretty good, knowing that I could only really do winters because obviously summer I was gone a lot or I had to practice
Right.
or whatever. So I just played full-time amateur golf. Then I ended up moving back over to the States in 07 to play.
Okay.
So then I ended up playing all like kind of the mini tours and all that kind of stuff over here.
So you turned pro at that point and then
Mhm.
started, trying to compete on the mini tours.
Yeah. Played Hooters Tour, which is no longer a tour. Played
Yeah.
the Tar Heel Tour, which turned into the E-Golf Tour, which I don't think is any longer a tour, or if it is, it might have been rebranded. Then the last 3 seasons I played, which would have been 14, 15, and part of 16, I played in Canada once the PGA Tour had taken over the Canadian Tour.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you've how long did you do that for? In terms of the mini tours or
10 years.
the pro career, I guess.
Yeah.
10 years, yeah.
Pretty much 10 years, which is a lot longer than probably I think I probably should have done it, but I was
Okay.
I had a ways and a means to do it, and I always strive to get better. I always wanted to get better, and I was just like, all right, I was like, I'll keep doing it as long as I can, really.
Why do you say that though? Probably longer than you should have done it.
Because I think I just hit a wall, not physically. I think this is going to sound really stupid, but I think that your golfers probably could relate a little bit to listen, is that I think I got better every year. Like I was a better golfer in 2017 than I was in 2015. But I think just mentally, I found it hard to develop with the physical attributes, if you know what I mean. It was like I knew, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. Like I knew I was better, but I never really believed I was better, if you know what I mean. It was like I would end up come against guys and I would kind of stand on the tee and I'd be like, I don't know if I can beat him. And there was nothing really that was that different to what they were doing until I ended up playing. I think it was the last year I played? Was it 16 or 15? I ended up playing a US Open qualifier with Taylor Penrith, who's now played on the President's Cup, plays on the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
And he hit it so far. I remember, and I'll never forget it. I tell everybody this story. They talk about people that hit it a long way. And I remember we played 36 holes that day. It was blowing a gale. And I hit driver 3-wood in the first par 5 that we played. He hit 3-iron over the back. And I'm like, well, I can't beat him. He hits his driver that far. The next par 5 we played, I hit driver 3-wood to the front edge of the green. He hit driver 6-iron at the middle of the green. And I'm like, God. And it was just like, at that point, I was like, the game has passed me by. Like, that was my exact thoughts during that round of golf. I was like, and that's stupid to think because obviously I didn't hit it that sharp. It was just he was that long, you know what I mean? But it was like, it was just almost like the air had been taken out of my sails. And it was kind of like everything that had kind of mentally been believing it almost came true right in front of my eyes. It was like, okay, well, I now cannot beat this guy. And now he was a complete freak of an example of somebody that hit it far, and I could have probably gained a little bit of distance, but it was just it was hard, you know what I mean? But like that was the thing, like I enjoyed turning up and competing, but I always felt like I had to be 100% on, or I was never ever going to be where I should have been, which I actually think now looking back was completely the wrong mindset, but that's where I was at that time.
What do you think your mindset should have been?
Probably just to embrace the game that I had. You know what I mean? Like you know, if I go back and think about the way I played and even guys that I played with that would not be biased to, you know, how I played. Like I hit the ball fairly straight. I hit it a decent distance. My irons were always really good. I mean, I chipped the ball good. I putted good. I probably just needed to believe in myself that little bit more. You know what I mean? Like believe in what I was actually doing rather than kind of, it was almost like my mind was almost like a year behind my physical ability, if that made any sense. So it was like I was never quite as sharp with the mentals as I was with what I had actually done to improve my golf game.
And do you think now being in and we'll get into this more in a bit, but being in the caddying world now, do you think there's any lessons there that now that you've had these experiences with some of the best players in the world out there, are there any lessons that you kind of look back on now and think, shit, I wish I would have done that back then.
Yeah,
Just mentally thinking.
100%. From the very
Mm,
first day that I picked up a bag and caddied on the LPGA Tour, I mean, it was an American rookie. Her name was Maddie Shields. I mean,
mhm,
great player, but her game, I would have likened it to mine in terms of how she played against the other women on the LPGA Tour. Like, she didn't hit it that far, but she hit it really straight. I mean,
mhm.
there was parts of her game that maybe weren't up to scratch, but she could have developed and would have been fine. But it was like almost watching myself or caddying for myself, but in the female form and somebody that was obviously a little bit younger than me or whatever. And I was like, all right, I was like, if this happens in the women's game, then it definitely would have happened in the men's game as well, because they're not too dissimilar, really, other than the fact that the
Yeah.
guys hit it miles.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
because and we kind of talked before we started here. We're talking about Tiger Woods. I think everybody I grew up playing golf because of Tiger. He made it cool. But I think you think that all these professional athletes, whether they're golfers, whether they're football players, whether they're baseball, basketball, whatever sport, you always think that their mental game is completely bulletproof, and it is completely
Mm,
false. They are just
mm.
as susceptible to the shitty thoughts that you and I get on a daily basis as anybody else. They just deal
Yeah.
with them better.
They're better at managing them, you mean,
Yeah,
in terms of
yeah,
on from a performance perspective, at
yeah.
least.
I think they're probably better at actually recognizing that they're there and that they're in front of them. Whereas I would always kind of try and kind of, I don't know, like just like pretend it wasn't there, which I don't think was,
Mhm.
which I don't think I know was not the right way to go about it. And I'd spoke to different mental coaches, and I would like to learn about that kind of stuff. I've probably done more about it or more reading about it and try to learn a little bit more now that I caddy. But even then, I tried to read up on stuff or whatever, but I just never ever could allow I'm like, no, that can't be right. Like, there's no chance. Like, Tiger's like, he's like the greatest mind that's ever lived, which is completely
Yeah.
false.
That's the thing, right? It's like you said, we spoke about it a little bit earlier, but it just, yeah, shows that it doesn't matter how successful you are at anything, right? It could be golf, it
Hmm.
could be anything. You could be the CEO of a massive company. You're still human at the end of the day. You still got
Yeah.
ups and downs. You've still got stuff going on. It's
Hmm.
yeah, they're no different, right? We're
Yeah.
all just humans at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, everybody's got something going on in their life. Whether it's the person down at the supermarket that's checking out your shopping, whether it's somebody you see on TV that's playing high level sport, whether it's just a person that walks by. Nobody has got the perfect life. You know what I mean? Like, somebody's always got.
Yeah,
Worry is probably the wrong word, but they've always got something that's going on that they're maybe not quite content with, and they would like to improve, or.
yeah, yeah. Talking about caddying, so you mentioned Maddie that you
Mhm.
I guess that was the first bag you picked up. Hearing your story so far, it doesn't sound like that growing up your big dream in life was to become a caddy.
No,
Um,
I was about as
I,
far
I,
away from what I wanted to do as probably you could find.
yeah, but you're a caddy. You're a
Yeah.
very successful caddy now. How did you get into that? So how did you kind of transition from being a player on the mini tour for, you said, a decade to
Yeah.
then all of a sudden picking up a bag on the other side of the game?
So when I played and practiced in Orlando, it was at Bay Hill. I was very fortunate enough that
Mm,
when I moved there, I'd maybe only been there a couple of years, and I never really had anywhere steady to kind of play and practice. And I was like, this isn't really helping my game. I was like, I need somewhere where I can call kind of home when I need to go and practice, like, rather than trying to bounce around and find places. So I called up, I think there was 3 different golf courses in the Orlando area, and I kind of just took a wild shot at Bay Hill. I was like, they're never, ever going to want me to go out there. So I called up the membership director at the time, and the woman couldn't have been any nicer. She was like, we'd love to have you. She's like, we've got, obviously they had PGA pros. I think they had a couple of LPGA pros at that time, but they didn't have anybody like me. And they're like, but we would love to help you. I think I had to give them some kind of CV or resume or whatever. So I sent that in. Then I think it was pretty much the next morning she called me up and she said, basically membership, and for the States, this is pretty cheap. I think it was like $250 a month. That was that was like range, and obviously a member of the golf course. Then you get charged per car every time you would go and play. But I was like, that's about as cheap as I'm going to get in the US. So for 5 years,
and then at Bay Hill.
Yeah, and at Bay Hill, exactly. So for 5 years, that was where, if I wasn't on the road playing, that was where I would practice. It's where I would go and play. So I became very friendly with Sean McBride, who is Maria Hjorth's husband. She played LPGA, played on the Solheim Cup. And he was a caddy at the time. I used to play golf with him all the time when I was at home, and he was obviously at home from caddying. And towards the end of my golfing career, I was actually getting divorced. So he was like, right, what are you going to do now? And my ex-wife at the time wasn't very fond of me going to caddy, but because I was now getting divorced, he had said to me, he was like, right, he's like, this is your time, because he kept on saying to me, he's like, if you're going to stop playing, he's like, you need to go caddy, he's like, you'd be very good at it. And I was like, it sounds horrible. I was like, I don't like the idea of essentially being somebody's help. And he's like, no, he's like, it's different than that. He's like, you'd be good at it. He's like, please just try it. So he took a little bit of convincing. We'd got to probably, I think when I started caddying, I think it was 2017. So it was maybe January of 2017, maybe February of 2017. And he said to me, he called me up and he's like, come and meet me at Bay Hill. He's like, we'll have a beer. So I went and had a beer with him, random Tuesday or Wednesday afternoon or whatever. And he was like, right, he's like, I'm going to call and text 3 of the Aussie caddies that caddy on the LPGA Tour. He's like, and I'm going to try, he's like, and get you a bag. He's like, it doesn't matter what it is. He's like, just go and do it. He's like, because within 4, 5, 6 weeks, he's like, somebody's going to figure out that you know the game, you're a nice guy. He's like, and you're going to take off. He's like, and you'll be fine. So it was through him that I kind of got my name out there. Then there was a couple other people that had kind of put me in touch with one of the guys who was kind of putting players and caddies together. He was a caddy himself. So he ended up calling me. I don't know how he got my number, but he ended up calling me maybe about a month later, and he was like, look, he's like, I might have a player for you, which was Maddie. He's like, she's going to call you within the next couple of hours. She called me and was like, I would like you to come and do the tournament in Kingsmill. So at that point, I was actually club caddying down in Tampa. So I had to tell the caddy master down there that obviously I was leaving, and he was like, I'm sad to leave you. He's like, or lose you. He's like, but he's like, I understand that this is probably more of what you want to do. And I was like, absolutely 100%. So I think within 2 days I was in the car. I drove from Orlando all the way up to Kingsmill, which is in Virginia. Basically the length of the US.
I was going to say, bit of a trek.
Yeah. Then I ended up doing 6 in a row for her. And that was it. I was pretty much part of the furniture after that on the LPGA Tour.
Well, so it's so it basically just kind of it got not handed to you, but the opportunity came through, like you said, for a friend, and you just jumped on it and decided to give it a try.
Yeah, and I had no clue how to caddy. Obviously, I had club caddied. I obviously understand golf, but like I remember the first maybe 2 or 3 weeks that I was out walking the golf course. You're looking at it, and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm looking for here. And it's like, and I had played the game with a yardage book, and I'm like, I've got no idea what I should be looking for, because it's like, like to me, it's all very simple and in front of you, because I played so much golf in my life. I'm like, well, if the pin's on the left, you generally want to miss it to the right. If the pin's at the back, you want to be short. If the pin's at the front, you probably want to be a little bit long. You know what I mean? Like it was all simple things like that. So like the golf side of it really there wasn't really much learning there. You know what I mean? Where there's some guys that you see that come out and caddy that obviously have a basic understanding of the game, but they don't really understand any of that kind of stuff. So the golf part of it is actually very, very simple to me.
What was the challenging part, the biggest learning for you, if the golf? Because I think from the outside, if you're looking and watching, caddies and golfers walking down the fairway together, there's always, I think, this misconception that caddies are just, the guys or the girls lugging the bags around, and that's about it. But I think I know that it's not the case. But obviously, wanted to hear from you. What were kind of the biggest learnings in the beginning from you and around all that?
It was probably dealing with the person. You know what I mean? And not even so much probably the golfer. It's like, like as we talked about earlier on, like people have got things going on in their lives. So it's like, it's knowing maybe when to put an arm around somebody and be like, look, it's going to be all right, or giving them a kick up the arse and saying, like, come on, you got to work harder, or, you got to focus a little bit more, or, things like that. That's where I get my enjoyment out of the job that I do. It's got nothing really to do with the golf, like, okay, watching good golf shots is very, very nice, but it's that part that I am constantly striving to get better and learn and improve that way rather than the golf side of it. Like, I don't play a whole lot of golf anymore. I'll play, I'll go through spells through the year maybe where I'll play 4 or 5 days in a row for 2 or 3 times a year. But I go and play all right, you know what I mean? And that's with no practice. So it's like, I understand what they're doing, if you know what I mean, in terms of their golf, because they're practicing. It's them all the time. It's almost trying to get them to remove themselves a little bit from trying to be a perfectionist.
And what techniques have you learned for that? Is there anything specific that you've, or is it just kind of your general, I guess, personality?
No, I think it is generally probably my personality, you know what I mean? And it's probably, when to crack that little joke, kind of take the edge off something, you know what I mean? Or, take their mind off something else, ask them a question about their family, their dog, you know what I mean? What else, something else they've got going on in their life. I mean, that's the other misconception that a lot of people will have with professional golf is that when they're out there on the golf course, all people are doing is talking about golf for the shots. And I'm sure there are players and caddies that do, but I would say for the majority that they're not interested. You can't concentrate for that long. I mean, professional golf is way too long, in my opinion. You know what I mean? When you're out there for 5-6 hours at a time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you're trying to tell somebody in a normal 9-to-5 job that you have to sit at your desk for 6 hours and do nothing other than just your work, they would be burnt out within an hour.
Yeah. Well, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So, from that, it's like... sorry, on you.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So from that, it's like you're almost trying to take their mind off whether it's a good, bad, shot, or, the weather or some of that. It's just trying to keep them fresh, essentially, for every shot. Like, every shot is their first shot.
Yeah. And you obviously mentioned there you spend so much time with that one individual, right? It's almost more time than they might spend with their families.
Correct.
Almost.
Yeah.
What do you end up becoming for them? What does your relationship? So, for example, now you're caddying for Lydia Ko.
Mm-hmm.
What does your relationship look like with Lydia, for example?
I don't know. That's actually a good question. I mean, I would say we're friends. You know what I mean? Like, we chat a good amount when we're not at work. I mean, she'll send me stuff on Instagram to look at, or, she'll send me a text message about something funny that's happened or whatever. But I think, I don't know, like, I'm not trying to bum myself up, but I'm fairly likable. I've never really met anybody that's disliked me. Like, I'm fairly easy to get along with. So I think that stands me in good stead in the job that I do and will continue to do, obviously, until my back probably gives in. So I think just being a friendly, I don't know, sounding board, somebody that will always have your back, that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, whoever I caddy for, from when I started caddying until when I finished caddying, will, in my eyes, will always be a better golfer than me. So I'm never ever going to question what they're going to do unless it's ridiculously stupid. You know what I mean? You're trying to carry something over water, or you're trying to hit it over a tree or under a tree or whatever, and it's just completely... So it's like, I'm not really... Like, they're not teaching me anything, but I'm also not teaching them anything golf-wise. So it's like, what I need to bring to the table is probably somebody that's very steady, somebody that's very, what would the word be? like very like speaking with conviction. You know what I mean? If I'm giving them an idea or something, you know what I mean? It's not like, well, it could be this. You know what I mean? It's like, I think it is, you know, X, Y,
Yeah.
or Z, rather than it could be, you know, something very
Sure.
wishy-washy. So
Decisive to some extent. Yeah.
yeah, correct. Yeah.
Mm. And I guess obviously a big part of that is trust, right? That
Yeah.
trust must play into that relationship
Yeah.
massively.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that I think is pretty much earned very quickly. You know what I mean? It's like, if you've got, you know, to take it to golf, like if you've got, you know, if they're in between a 7 iron and an 8 iron and you tell them it's 7 iron and it should have been an 8 iron, then the trust
Yeah.
is like, okay, well, hold on a minute, that's not quite right. You know what I mean? So,
Mm.
but again, as I said, the golf part of it is not particularly hard for me. And again, they know they're the best players in the world. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not, if they think it's an 8 iron, unless I know the 8 iron can't legitimately get anywhere close to that flag
Mm.
or where they're looking to hit it, then it's not an 8 iron.
Yeah. Yeah. And you switching it to you a little bit, I guess. So you obviously mentioned you're standing next to someone, you know, whose job it is to perform under a lot of pressure a lot of the times. Um, how much pressure do you actually feel in the role?
During the round, probably not really that much. It's just
Really?
kind of,
Okay.
yeah, no. But like on the first tee, almost every day from the first time I've caddied, whether it be, you know, at a Solheim Cup or just a regular event, I crap in my pants on the first tee. You would never be able to tell, but it's like, it's almost like I get this like imposter syndrome. I'm like, I don't know if I should be doing this. I actually don't really know what I'm doing. Then it's like, as soon as that first tee shot goes and you're into the thing and you're looking at your orange book and you're figuring out wind, it's like, all right, okay, I understand what I'm doing.
And so that's interesting. I wouldn't have actually thought that.
Yeah.
But so obviously you've experienced a lot of, you know, successes with some of the players you caddies, but obviously like every golfer, there's always shitty rounds in there as well. So if you know, let's say Lydia has had a bit of or Anna has had a bit of
Mm-hmm.
a rubbish day, how does that sit with you at the end of the round as the caddy? Is it something you can like quickly switch off and it's kind of over and done with, or is
Yeah.
it something that you also need to, you know,
Yeah.
mentally reset on a little bit?
No, well, you probably do, but like my my theory with anything in life is, and this probably came from my parents, and it probably came through my own work ethic at golf and even football when I was a kid, is that if you go out there and you try your best, that's all you can do. I know that
Mm,
sounds very simplistic, and it, you know, and almost everybody says it, but like that's it. Like, as long as I have a player that goes out there and tries their best every day, then I have no qualms if if they've shot 65 or if they've shot 85. Now the 85s are probably not going to happen because they're better golfers than
yeah,
that. You know what I mean? But you do get conditions and you get weird scenarios where they shoot high
yeah,
scores. But that's all I really ask, is somebody that works hard and will try their best. And if you do that, then I have no issues. I can go home and I can sleep at night, and because I know that I'm going to
yeah,
turn up and I'm going to work hard and I'm going to do whatever. So if they can do the same, then there's nothing. There are caddies and there are players that will get upset with caddies or players for other reasons, but that, you know, I'm a fairly simple guy, and that is probably as simple as it gets. I think I remember I think it might have been the third turn, maybe third or fourth tournament I ever caddied for Anna, and we were in San Diego at the Kia Classic. I think it was a tournament she had won before. Greens are pro Anna, so like they're bouncy, and she had played really good, but she didn't hole anything, and she ended up finishing 3 under or something for the tournament. She came off, she went in the locker room, she came out, and she's crying. And I said to her, I was like, what's wrong with you? She's like, well, she's like, I feel like I've let everybody down. She's like, you know, I've won this tournament before, and you know, and she was upset with herself. And I turned around and I said to her, I was like, let me ask you 2 questions. She's like, okay. I was like, did you try your hardest on every shot? She's like, yeah. And I was like, did you prepare the best you could at the start of the week for the 4 rounds? She was like, yeah, I think so. I was like, well, that's all you can do. And she turned around to me and she goes, nobody's ever said that to me. And I'm like, it's as simple as that. I was like, but that's the other thing with golf as well, is like, I think once you get to that elite level, it's like, I'm not saying that they expect it all the time, but it's, you know, it's not tennis where the top three guys, which were Federer, Djokovic, and Nadal for a long time, were always going to be the guys in the final. Golf isn't like that. And I think that's almost kind of what we've taken maybe from that and from Tiger a little bit, maybe from Annika in the women's game, is that if you're good, you should be winning every other week. Golf, Scotty now on the men's side, Rory, got her up is kind of becoming a little bit like that.
Yeah.
Like, that's just not golf. Like, that's not normal. Like, they are very, 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 very elite golfers that are going through a very, you know, Tiger's patch was obviously a little bit larger than everybody else's, but it's like that's not going to continue their whole career.
No, and I mean, yeah, that's just the life of a tour goal. I think in terms of, you know, that's what I meant earlier in terms of the pressures that fall on the players, but then also on you as a caddy and how you can essentially support that player, right? So that you mentioned that example with Anna there.
Yeah.
What's kind of your take on, you know, being able to see the human side of the player, you know, and kind of the pressures that they have to deal with, you know, the expectations that sit on them in terms of, you know, I know they have like sponsor obligations and God knows what else. Is there anything that you kind of see from your angle that kind of sits with you sometimes?
In terms of them playing golf, probably not. It's just kind of, you know, as we spoke about, but like the things that I never had to deal with was essentially like the sponsor obligations. You know what I mean? Like, obviously that's the thing. The more elite you become at golf, almost every tournament you turn up to, you are the main attraction. So you're always getting pulled in for media. You know what I mean? So like you're, you know, if you take, and no disrespect, but if you take the 100th player in the world and you stick them in a tournament, they have Monday through Wednesday afternoon, other than the time they have to play their 9 or 18 hole pro-am, they don't have to do media. They're probably not going to be asked by any other journalists anything on the driving range. You know what I mean? They're probably not getting equipment thrown in their face. You know what I mean? You don't have this entourage of people that are trying to, so you actually just get to go about your job. But then once you get to that elite level, you've got people poking and prodding. Do you want to try the new driver? Do you want to try a new iron? You know what I mean? You've got journalists asking questions about things that you probably didn't even realize that they knew about. You know, and in today's day and age, you know what I mean? You've got social media, you've got Twitter, you've got, or X, and you've got Instagram. You know what I mean? I'm sure I don't pay attention to any of the press conferences very much, but any of them that I've paid attention to, there's always some kind of reference to, oh, you posted on Instagram last week that you were doing this. It's like, I wouldn't want people knowing that about my life. I mean, I'm sure people do, but like, I don't get asked questions about it all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that side of it has got to be hard. And I actually think, going back to, you know, when we talk about my game, I think that was, speaking of the mental side of it, I think that was kind of something that I didn't, like, I don't think I was ever really prepared for, because I'm private, not overtly private, but like, I don't think that I would have handled that well. You know what I mean? Like, being in that spotlight of, not that I would ever have got, I don't think I would ever have got to that level, but if I did, I don't think I would have handled it very well.
Do you not know? So do you think in hindsight it would have been a challenge for you? Let's say you were, I don't know, top 10 in the world, you yourself. It would have been a challenge for you. I mean, I guess, I'm guessing, I don't know this, but I'm guessing that there's a lot of players that are in the same boat as that, and then potentially have to adapt and adjust
and learn,
to that life, because they have no other choice at the end of the day.
No, well, exactly, and that's kind of, I'm not going to say it's a downer for the success, but it's something that you just have to deal with the success that comes. You know, like
it's part of it.
Exactly. And like, me working for the players that I have, people want my attention a little bit more now as well. You know what I mean? But again, it's not like it's thrown out into the public like they are. You know what I mean? It's like they go to, you know, whether it be their pro-am dinners or their pro-am parties or, different engagements that they've got to do for sponsors or whatever. Like, they're dealing with people all the time. I just have to deal with it at certain times, probably during a tournament week. You know what I mean? Somebody recognizes me and they're like, "Oh, Paul, hello, how are you?" You know what I mean? I give them 5 minutes of my time and away you go. But they're dealing with it all the time.
Yeah. Switching that then to you, in terms of, I guess the life that people don't see. Because again, I think it kind of, people get this idea that, this life of a tour pro and, tour caddy is all this glitz and glam and, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How does it impact relationships, just life in general outside of work? Because like you said, you're traveling to Thailand tomorrow, halfway, all the way on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
How does that ring true with you?
Yeah. No, it's hard. I mean, it's really hard. As I said, my ex-wife, she didn't want me to caddy. So, but she obviously, I'd played golf, but her theory was that basically I'm just going to be somebody's, help or butler, outdoor butler, as we get called as caddies. You know what I mean? She was like, that you're kind of better than that, which is not necessarily true. I mean, there are parts of it that you need to go and help your player or you'll help somebody out, but I think that's just my nature in general. You know what I mean? If I can help somebody out, then I'll do it, especially when we're on the road, because we're all in the same boat. We're all away from families. We're all away from things that probably we would rather be doing or people we would rather be with. But yeah, relationships are tough. Obviously, spending time away from family is hard. Friends, you know what I mean? Like, I've missed weddings. I've missed family weddings. I've missed friends' weddings. I've missed, I've never been at home for when my sister had both her kids. I never saw them until they were probably 7 or 6, 7, 8 months old, basically each. So yeah, no, the things that you miss. But I mean, unfortunately, that's just my job, and I have to deal with it the best I can. But as we said earlier on, I mean, the world is so much smaller now with text messaging, FaceTime. You know what I mean? So it's like you can kind of be there without being there, if that makes any sense.
It does. It definitely does. Yeah, and it's well, you mentioned obviously that you spend your career basically helping or supporting someone at the end of the day. Does that leave any space for you to, how do I say it, to support or help yourself, to look after yourself? So in other words, you've got all this, quite difficult stuff going on. You're traveling a lot. It's an intensive job. Is there anything that you do specifically to look after yourself, basically?
What, like mentally or physically?
Mentally, physically as well. I think they both tie in together, to be honest.
Physically, I don't really do a whole lot. I mean, I should probably stretch a little bit more, but like, the gym is no interest to me. I haven't stepped foot inside a gym since I stopped playing golf, because I feel like carrying a 35, 40-pound golf bag is a workout in itself. And especially some of the places we go to, like the next 2 weeks in Thailand, Singapore, it's going to be really hot. But like, mentally, I mean, as I said earlier, like, I'm fairly good at switching off. Like, I don't bring, even when I played, like, I never really brought, whether it be a good score or a bad score, home with me. But you definitely need that time away to kind of, decompress, even though I don't bring it. You know what I mean? Like, I'll listen to a decent amount of podcasts. As I said earlier, like, I'm a big football fan. Like, that's my first love other than golf. You know what I mean? Whether it's watching highlights from football, you can see the dartboard behind me. I love darts. Yep. You know what I mean? Things like that. I think it's just kind of like trying to, I don't know, mentally kind of reset. But like, it's not in a bad way. It's not like I go home and I'm mentally exhausted. There are times that you do, depending on the golf course conditions, whatever. But yeah, no, I did it. But it's more just getting rest. It's more just, like, I think, again, the misconception of caddies, and it would probably have been true way back in the day, but there's too much money to be made in it now, is that caddies were just drunks. You know what I mean? It's like they would finish the round, they would go to the bar, whatever. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I'm sure there's still guys that go and do that. I have no interest in that. I can't. I'm not I don't think I'd be fit enough to be able to do it. And two, I think the worst thing in the world is a hangover. The second worst thing in the world is got to be having a hangover and carrying a golf bag.
Yep.
So that has no interest to me at all. I'm not saying that I'll never ever drink when I'm on the road. I might have a beer with my dinner every now and again, but like I just know that that's not what is going to help me succeed. So, or my player succeed. So why am I going to even bother doing it?
Yeah. So what I'm taking from that is, you don't have some massive, I guess, self-care routine that a guru's created for you, but
No.
it's more you found your own ways to
Yeah.
decompress mentally.
Yeah. I mean, it's just listening to your body. You know what I mean? There's sometimes I'll get home from the golf course. Next week probably being a good example of it because it's obviously a long way from home and it's hot. There'll probably be 1 or 2 days within the next 2 weeks when I'm gone that I will literally get something to eat on the way home, and I will jump in bed and I'll watch Netflix from 5 o'clock at night to 10 o'clock at night. I'll go to sleep. I'll get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and I'll go to work. But then there'll be other days where I'll come home, I'll shower, I'll maybe go and meet a couple of guys for dinner. We'll go for dinner. I'll come back. I'll maybe watch, an hour on Netflix. Then I'll go to my bed. Like it's very individual. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm good at listening to my own body and listening to my own head, essentially. So it's like there isn't a consistent routine that I do, but I definitely listen to, how I'm feeling, and at the end of the day, I've got to be as close to 100% every morning I go to that first tee as I can be.
Yeah. I think it's such an important skill, and one that's not talked about enough, I don't think, and not a lot of people work on is, exactly that, listening to your own body. I think that's so important. It's something that I struggled with in the past as well, is not noticing kind of in advance kind of what was probably going to be happening, or what my body might need for me to become my best self essentially in the future. I was thinking more reactively rather than proactively always.
I did the same when I played. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, like when I played in practice at Bay Hill. The gym that I used to go to was literally 10 minutes from the golf course. So the last year I played, this will kind of put you into a mind, or share a little bit of a mindset of how I was in and why I probably end up stopped playing golf, was I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. This is to say I was off for 2 weeks. I'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'd eat breakfast. I'd get in the car at 5:30. I'd be at the gym at 6. I'd be in the gym from 6 until 7. I'd go to the golf course. I'd eat again. I'd practice until lunch. I'd stop and have lunch. Then I'd go play 18 holes, and I'd probably get back home at say 6 or 6:30. I would do that for 2 weeks straight before I'd go to a tournament. Now, at what point after doing that for a whole year do you expect to then be fresh when you go to a tournament? Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, I was just digging a bigger and bigger hole, and I felt good, but it was too much work. You know what I mean? I don't think I was even putting my body under too much stress, but mentally, you know what I mean? You can't handle all that. You need a day off. You need time to rest.
It's exactly right. And I think that rings true. I mean, that's a great example from a golf perspective. I think that rings true to any career as well, right? It's like, it's this overworking and no other better term for it, but burnout at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's so real. And that's what I meant by it. It's such an important skill. It sounds so simple again, listening to your body, but it's difficult to actually do, but can be so important to you.
That's the things, though. I think whether it be golf, whether it be life, whether it be caddying, whether it be a job, I think the simplest things are the hardest things to see, though. And it's not until you've kind of almost made that error probably more than once that you're like, and you look back, you've got to reflect. I think you've got to have a period of reflection and be like, okay, could I have done that better? What could I have done better? How could I implement it better? And then once you start doing that, that's when you kind of learn. You're like, all right, well, that worked, but this didn't work. So it's like you figure out what is the thing. But the simplest things, I think, are the things that are right in front of your face, are the things that you miss. You're always looking further afield to be like, okay, well, there's got to be someone else. And it generally is a simple answer.
A lot of the time it is. Yeah. A lot of the time. And what you mentioned there is something I always try to refer to now is creating or trying to create like a little bit of a mental toolkit for yourself that you can fall back on.
Yeah.
I think Christina Kim, when I spoke to her, she first brought up that idea, you know, of creating this like toolbox of different like skills and different just things that you do. It doesn't have to be anything crazy or intense.
No.
Just be something quite simple, you know, but it's
Yeah.
actually getting into that habit and routine and practice of actually being able to kind of subconsciously even do that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and then that, to your point, is kind of like my role as a caddy when I'm helping my players. So it's like if you're involved in a really slow round and you've got somebody that is very, say, highly strung or very involved in the round, it's like I'm just trying to take their mind off what they're trying to do. You know what I mean? So if they're getting upset with somebody that's in the group that's slow, or the groups that are in front of us that are really slow, it's like that's where I can kind of step in and be like, all right, so where are you going to go for dinner tonight? Or what's your husband doing, you know, this week? You know what I mean? How's your dog doing? How's your family doing? It's things like that. Just trying to get your mind and take a little bit of a break from the actual job at hand, essentially.
Yeah. This is probably a tough question to answer, but do you have any like specific examples of that kind of bring that to life? Like you know, jumping in and specifically supporting someone through that?
No, not really. But I think, like, if I go back to Lydia, when I first started working for her, obviously she wasn't playing like the Lydia Ko that we know and we love. And I felt like there was a lot of times that, because I'd known Lydia a little bit, we'd been in her group maybe 3 or 4 times when I caddied for Anna. But it's like I didn't really know a whole lot about her. So like I think that actually helped when I started caddying for her, because she wasn't playing that good. And she was obviously very gracious in the fact that she doesn't want to talk about golf all the time either. And I obviously have to learn when I can pick and choose what to speak about, depending on what kind of shot she's hit. But like I learned a lot about her in that, because I'd be like, okay, June, her husband, I was like, what's June doing this week? You know what I mean? Is he playing golf or is he working or whatever? So it's little things like that. But then from that, you know what I mean, I'm taking mental notes and I'm being like, okay, so in the future, if something's not going awry, you know what I mean, I know I can ask something about her life, not specifically about her husband or her dog, but you know what I mean, I can kind of take her mind away from it. And it kind of lets her reset a little bit without her probably even realizing it. You know what I mean? Not that I'm some kind of mental guru, but it's just like nobody wants to talk about, you know, as I said earlier, like if you were just to put somebody in their 9-to-5 job and make them work for 6 hours, they'd be done after an hour. They'd be like, can I just have a break?
Be miserable.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, and it's so interesting. And I think that goes back to that point we brought up earlier around, you know, that I think there's still this misconception around caddies essentially just lugging golf bags around and that being it. You know, I think that's couldn't be further from the truth from my perspective, is that, you know, you're so much more than that. Yeah, you're not a mental coach per se, but you know, you're a partner at the end of the day, right? You've got a strong bond out there and you're doing a lot more than just carrying a bag around.
Yeah. And the same with golfers though. I think that a lot of the public think that golfers, you know, live and breathe golf 24/7, 365, which is just not the case. A lot of them do.
No.
But again, as much as you start playing golf or any sport or any hobby and you become very, very good at it, you don't live and breathe it. You do to a degree to obviously get to that level. But once you get to that level, I don't think that you need to do, it doesn't need to be your life 24/7. You know what I mean? I think that the best people in their respective work, whether it be sport or, you know, CEO or whatever, there's always something that will kind of let them reset, you know, take their mind off it, allows them to grow rather than just kind of stagnate and kind of sit still.
Well, it's important, isn't it? It's important in any role. And I think that's just the thing with you know the top elite golfers, is the only kind of side of them you usually see is that them playing golf. And so I think there is that perception that, you know, that is their life, which it is, like you said, to some extent. But just like any other job, you know, you've got a life outside it. Often not.
Exactly. Somebody's going to listen to this though, then they're going to go on Charlie Hall's Instagram and think, well, she just plays golf 24/7, which she does. In all fairness, she loves the game. And that's all she does. But but the majority of them, no, you know what I mean? I think that there's other things in their life that they've got, and it could be something as simple as just cooking, you know what I mean? A lot of them,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? It's things away from the game that kind of take your mind away from it.
Yeah, exactly. Switching gears slightly, talk about you a little bit more again. You've obviously been part of some huge wins and big weeks out there. And I think most recently, was it LPGA Tour Caddie of the Year, I heard as well?
Yeah, that was in Singapore last year, yeah.
But when you strip away kind of all the trophies that, you know, you've won in your partnerships and, you know, your own accomplishments as well, what's something that you're proudest of that you've done in your life?
It probably wouldn't have anything to do with golf, to be perfectly honest. It would be the fact that, as I said earlier, I think that I'm fairly likable. I don't, you know what I mean? And it's not that I go out my way to make everybody like me. But like I'm decently calm. You know what I mean? I can chat to pretty much everybody. You know what I mean? I would like to think that, you know, like the golf, as I said, the golf side of it doesn't really matter. I don't really care about any of that. It doesn't float my boat, doesn't toot my horn or whatever, however you want to say it. You know what I mean? Like it's, you know, when I pass away, when I'm done with golf, as long as they say that Paul was a nice guy and he always had a good respect for everybody, that's all that really matters. The golf side of it, the trophies, like I don't have any of the flags up that I've won. I don't have any, like they're all in a drawer somewhere. Like to me, it doesn't matter. That's not who I am. You know what I mean? That's something that I've done, yes, but it's not, that doesn't make me, you know, it's not going to, I don't think somebody should like me because of what I've done, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Who you said is not who you are. Who are you then?
Just a guy from Scotland that loves football and loves sport. I mean, that's as I said earlier as well. Like I'm very simple. Like I'll eat ham and cheese sandwich every day for lunch. I'll have Weetabix for breakfast. I'm a very plain eater. Like I will literally eat the same thing every day if I could. Like I would wear a white t-shirt every day if that's all I had in my closet. Yeah, no, I just football. Like I'm a big Newcastle United fan. I mean that. Not that I get up and down with that either. You know what I mean? Like I learned I was when I was younger, but now,
Yeah.
you know, I've experienced too much in my life to really let it bother me. But like that's what I look forward to. You know what I mean? Like when I'm on the road, when I wake up on Sunday morning, because I probably won't be able to see the game, like that'll be like the first thing that I'll look for on my phone. Okay, what was the Newcastle score? Like that's
Really?
where I get that's where I get my enjoyment. Yeah. Like last year when they won the Carabao Cup against Liverpool, I flew over, I landed on the Saturday, went to the game on the Sunday, then flew back on the Monday. That's how much of a fanatic I am. But that would be it. You know what I mean? That's who I am. I'm just a simple person from Aberdeen, Scotland. Like that's literally it. Like there's nothing amazing about me. I don't think.
Well, I think a lot of people would probably say something different. I think there is something quite beautiful in that, even, you know, just enjoying the simple things in life. I think a lot of people would be quite, I don't know, I don't think jealous is the right word, but, you know, just, you know, there's a lot different.
Yeah, I do understand what you're saying. Yeah, I've got a lot of people around me that are like, why are you so calm all the time? Like, no, I'm one of my buddies in St. Pete, he's always like, you might be the most logical person I've ever met. And I'm like, it's just the way that I'm wired. Like it keeps everything nice and simple. You know what I mean? It's either yes or no.
Yeah. And honestly, that probably plays quite nicely into your role, obviously. It's probably why people you work with really like you. The fact that you can keep that logical straight head, I guess, level head. What are you is there anything you're kind of looking forward to going forward? This could be next week. It could be in 5 years from now.
Anything I'm looking forward to? I don't know. I suppose at some point in my future, I would like to obviously be a parent. I would like to have a kid.
Okay.
Obviously, that's down the line, I would imagine from now. But that's something that I'm looking forward to. Professionally, I mean, I've never had a plan when it came to caddying. I just kind of rode the coattails of what I've done and what everybody perceives of me. So it's like I'm not ever going to try and pick, what I'm going to do or who I'm going to work for or whatever. Obviously, being male and playing golf, I would like to have a crack at caddying on the PGA Tour again. I caddied for a period of time before I caddied for Lydia for Kevin Chappell. I would like to caddy out there again. I went to the Ryder Cup last year for the first time. I've never been to a Ryder Cup before. I thought it was absolutely amazing in terms of like being a spectator. So, I mean, that professionally would be something that I would like to do. I would like to caddy in a Ryder Cup. I think that would be pretty neat.
That wouldn't be too bad, would it?
Yeah, no, it would be fun. I don't know if I'd like to do it in New York though. I mean, that was insane.
Oof. Is that the Ryder Cup that you were at? Yeah, last year.
Yeah,
in New York.
I was there on I was there Thursday and the Friday, and I remember watching so this was on the Saturday when I was flying home. I remember watching the Lowry McIlroy against Thomas and Cameron Young match on the plane, and I watched it with no audio, and I was engrossed. I was like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And I ended up getting home, and I watched the highlights of it, and I was even more engrossed with it. I think it might be the most amazing sporting thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, just, I don't understand how any of them played any good golf in that atmosphere. Like, that's not golf, like that atmosphere.
No,
it was insane. In a football arena.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, obviously I wasn't there. I was just watching it on TV, but even there, just seeing them, the amount of pressure, but also just the abuse and everything that they have to entail. But as you said, I think it takes a special type of character to be able to endure that. And that match in particular was, crazy. And I think Lowry and McIlroy are obviously two people that out of everyone out there could probably deal with shit being flung at them.
But like, I remember coming back, and as I said, I've probably watched it 30 times now. Like, I watch it every other week because I'm like, I just find it amazing. But it's like, it cuts, obviously, when it's cutting from people holding putts, and like the players are all going ballistic, the fans are all going crazy, and you just see these caddies walking around passing the flag like with no emotion. And I'm like, that's the job I do. Like, I'm probably more psycho than 90% of this planet because I want to do that.
Hopefully one day we'll be seeing you out there and seeing that vision or that dream come true.
Yeah,
and
that'd be cool.
Obviously on the personal side as well, you mentioned have a kid one day potentially. Is that something that you feel it gets impacted by the fact that you're kind of, with the job that you have, kind of like, on the road and traveling a lot?
Yeah, no, I think that it has, with obviously me playing golf for a start, because obviously when I played for 10 years, it's not like you're at home all the time, I mean, it's not a regular, like and in all fairness, I've probably never worked a day in my life with the stuff that I've done, I mean, I worked in a bar, which is, you're chatting with people. I've played golf. I now carry a golf bag for a living. I mean, I've never worked a day in my life, but obviously I'm gone a lot. So yeah, I think it has. I mean, if you'd asked 15-year-old Paul back in the day, like, I'm 42 now, I mean, would I have been unmarried at this point and had no kids? I would have said, no, I'll be married and I'll probably have 2 kids. But now I'm not married and I have 0 kids. So like, I keep telling everybody, like, I don't think that it's my choice at this point whether I have a child, because I'm 42 and I'm a male, what I mean? Like, I have to meet somebody that wants to have a kid and then we go from there, what I mean? But yeah, I think what I have done in my life in terms of golf and caddying probably hasn't had an impact on that.
I really, really appreciate that, Paul. I really appreciate you being so candid and open about everything. And
no problem.
Yeah, it was really interesting to hear the insights from obviously what you're doing day to day as a caddy, but also getting to know you as a person as well. Like I said, there's people often just see the players and then yourselves, the people carrying the bags and don't really know that
wandering over the bag on their back.
Exactly, yeah. not a little do they know that there's, a human being with actual emotions and thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. A brain, a hamster going inside.
Exactly. But I really appreciate it, Paul, and really appreciate your time as well.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. That was fun. I enjoyed it.